Hello everyone, and welcome back to some Misfits Racing League action. We are once again here in Le Castellet, France. It is round 10 for the club division, and joining me as always, Unicorn, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well, thank you, Striff. 3 out of 4 races, and it's our final one here at France, and it's been a good week.
Has definitely been a very good week, of course. 3 races now we've had an opportunity to see this week around this circuit. And it's going to be a lot of fun to see how the drivers go around here once again. We'll take a look at the circuit. Very nice circuit, that very long Sector 2 straight into the 8-9 chicane where we've seen a lot of overtaking happening this week. 15 turns around here. And it's a very, very long circuit when you look at it. And, well, a lot of highlights have been happening around here this week. We'll take a look at the calendar and where we've gone with Club Division this season. Of course, we've already been through Australia, Bahrain, Vietnam, China, the Netherlands, as well as Spain, Monaco, Azerbaijan, and most recently through Canada. Now we're here in France for round 10 of the Club Division, and then next week we move on over to Austria, and that is going to be an absolute speed fest. Now we move through into the second half after next week already, and it's the British Grand Prix followed by Hungary, Belgium, of course Italy, Singapore, Russia, Japan, the US, Mexico, and Brazil. And then we cap off the season in Abu Dhabi. So a lot of stuff happening there. Let's take a look at the teams today, because we have, of course, ZZ9 and Fraser over in the Mercedes with Alex Bitto and Jake over at Ferrari. Ben the Baron Van Putten for Red Bull. Mito and Burke for McLaren. That's Nigel and Arda for Renault. We have Freeware and Finn for AlphaTauri. Burke and Jones over at Racing Point with Shenjay and Money for the Alfa Romeo team. Tillman Sever and XTXP over at Haas with Emre Ostrick and Domi in the Williams squad. Take a look at the standings. There you can see the standings for round 10. Shenjay on top, 124 points. ZZ9 there in second, 116 points. And Alex Bitto with 111, rounding out your top 3. And of course, it is a Red Bull-led championship at the moment. Now, with all of that being said, there was no major incidents this week to report, so the stewards just want to say, thank you very much. Keep it clean here around Le Castellet. Of course, with all that, Unicorn, I believe we are just about ready to go racing.
I do believe we are. The message has been sent, and we'll get on the way shortly. And we've been hoping for it, not just for the last week, for the last 2 weeks. For maybe a little bit of rain. We got it in qualifying this week, but we haven't seen it in a race environment. And if me spilling my drink just before this started is any indication of the weather, then maybe this is the day.
Need to have the drink, Kimmy. You need to have the drink.
Yeah. Well,
if France has been anything to go by, it's very important for Unicorn and I to stay hydrated for these races, because it's been quite action-packed, to say the least.
Yeah, for sure. I don't envy your throat after 2 races around this track last night. Basically 100% now. And after this and tomorrow's night's Russian Grand Prix, I'm sure we're going to need some much needed rest on our throats.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe having a little bit of a connection issue there, Unicorn. I don't know if you've got anything open or not.
Might just be when I was messaging to get this underway, but we're all right. Hopefully.
Should be good to go.
I just went on one more driver, and then...
No worries, as we want to have as many drivers on the grid as we can today. It's always nice to see a nice packed grid. And Club Division, Tier 2, Tier 1, and EU, it's all been fantastic this week to see. And throughout the season, it's been a very tight grid this season in all divisions, really. EU, right out of the gate, was pretty tight. I've had the pleasure of seeing the new Oceanic grid in action as well. Just just fantastic. So I'm really excited for all of the racing that's happening. Can't wait for Austria. Austria is going to be a really unique thing to see after what's been a very dynamic start to this season. With all of the street circuits, of course we had Zandvoort, we had Vietnam, the newest circuits to the calendar. Now we're here in France for Club Division, finally loading into the session here.
Yeah, and Austria will be interesting to see, not only because Austria is a excellent track, but also because we sort of started there with all the action that we had there at the sort of pre-season, if you want to call it that.
That's very true. It's very true. So 19 drivers on this grid. It looks clear as day at the moment, so maybe not any rain, but of course Tim and Sever in the Haas, Remco van Putten for Red Bull. You have Money there in the Alfa Romeo. Zamis is in a reserve capacity here today. Of course, Zamis from Tier 1 and, of course, the founder of the league. Jake and Jones as well, 5-6. Domi in 7th. You have Fraser there in 8th. Freeware in 9th. Nigel in 10th. ZZ9 in 11th with Henners in 12th. Mito in 13th. Finn in 14th. Astrodate in 15th. Shenjay in 16th. Seb in 17th, and Lamp there in 18th with Alex Bitto in 19th. And the club is essentially a grid that we've seen kind of develop over the season into somewhat of a Tier 2, Tier 1. You have EU, Endurance Series drivers, and all of these guys in one grid, and it's just been fantastic racing that we've seen here in the club division. If last week was anything to go by, they had a fantastic drive around Montreal. So we'll just have to see how they go here around Paul Ricard. First driver out of this pit lane. It looks like that might have been Van Putten. We'll see if anybody jumps him out of the pit lane on the end, but I think it's going to be the Dutchman there. The first driver keen to get a lap going.
Yeah, it is going to be Remco van Putten in that Red Bull first onto the track. And it's a track that's provided us with a lot of entertainment over the past 3 days, but hopefully this race can hold a candle to the ones that we've had previously here, and Remco van Putten, he's going to be the first one to set a benchmark time for us in this qualifying time if all goes well.
Yeah, and we've heard from Jones, the sitting racing point in 6th position on your timing tower right now. He has confirmed for us that there is going to be no rain in qualification or in the race, so it's going to be a clear occasion here in Le Castellet, and I think some of the drivers are going to be super happy about that. I always try to get them concerned about the idea of rain ahead of these races. I mean, I'd love to see it. I'm genuinely interested in seeing the rain, but it always throws a little bit of a kink in that concentration. But then again, that possibility no longer, and they've been now confirmed that it's going to be a dry event, so we'll just have to see how that race unfolds. As Remco van Putten in that Red Bull, he comes through this very unique Sector 3 section. He's going to be the first driver to begin a flying lap here in France.
Yeah, and the long weaving turns of that Sector 3 make it, like you said, unique and just a joy to watch people go side by side as Remco van Putten now into the DRS zone on the start-finish straight to start his first flying lap, as well as the first flying lap of the session. The Red Bull driver coming down into turn 1. There's turn 2 as well, keeping it valid but using as much curve as you can. That's what we've seen plague the drivers so far this week. The track limits around here as they've been freed up now through turns 3 and 4. Tight right-hander at turn 5. Coming out of turn 6 and 7 onto this huge long straight with the DRS on the first half of it before it gets separated by 8 and 9. Remco, you can see taking all of the outside curb and then the inside as well. Still valid though, and he's going to want to keep it that way as he approaches the third and final sector here. Into this fast right-hander. You can see him pretty much off the track on the left-hand side to get as much speed carried through turn 10 as he possibly can through the long right-hander of turn 11 then. Again, that late apex. Very nice from the Red Bull driver now into turn 12. Keeping it nice and clean on far to the right as he can through turn 13 and now 14 and the final corner, turn 15. It's a valid lap from the Red Bull. DRS open to cross the line with our opening time this evening of a 1:27.7.
That is a rapid time here around France. We'll have to see who can do anything better than that. Enters a 1:28.9.
Yeah, his teammate Domi, a 1:28.3. So Remco Van Putten right now 6/10 ahead of the competition. Fraser a 1:29 flat from the Mercedes driver. Alex Biddo a 1:19, a 1:29.3. A 1:19 would be very impressive. Seb 1:28.3 coming out of the Renault. So far Remco Van Putten, like you said, a very rapid time, and looks like he's going to be staying on that top spot for the foreseeable future at the moment. Tiemann Severs invalidated his lap.
I was jumping on board with the two Alfa Romeos. It looked like Shenji and Money were both on flyers, but Money's opted to jump into that pit lane here. Now it's Shenji coming through into turn 13, now through 14. And then he'll be coming into this final turn 15 in this Alfa Romeo. He doesn't get too much of that inside curve. He gets a lot of this exit curve here. He drives through a DRS sign on the exit of that turn, and he drops the lap. So not happy with that. That's a Ferrari on the rear of him.
Yeah, and we're seeing a fair few drivers in the pit lane right now going onto those medium compound tires, and you've got to question whether that's been influenced by some of the performances from drivers who have started on the mediums over the course of this week's races here around France. So interested to see him. Maybe Shenji, he's aborting that lap so that he can improve on mediums potentially, or if he just wants to set another time on softs. But if he was going to do that, he wouldn't needed to have braked on the start-finish straight as he did. So I think mediums here might be quite a popular choice to start this race on.
On board with Mito at the moment. He's in the McLaren. He's coming through turn 13 into 14 now. Really wide coming out there, and he's actually just going to jump into the pit lane. So no lap from him yet. That's his teammate Lamp on an outlap at the moment. He had a
Jones.
very, very fun-filled race in Tier 2 yesterday, Mr. Lamp, in that Ferrari yesterday. Now he's in the McLaren today, jumping on with Jones as he's coming down through into turn 3, 4, now 5.
You can see the AlphaTauri of Finn there just off the track, just trying to get out of the way of these people on flying laps. And there's not a lot of places to go on track there, but France being the open circuit it is, there's not a lot of walls, so plenty of off track to get out of the way. Jones then on the medium compound tire. I do believe the only time.
I think he's dropped the lap now.
Yeah, he's cancelled the deployment of ERS.
Not a lot of drivers on flyers at the moment. A lot of outlaps we're seeing right now. Now Zamis, who had a stunning qualifying yesterday in France, didn't have the same effect in the race, unfortunately. I think he's here now in a solid reserve capacity at the team he started with in Misfits with the Renault squad. And now he's flying around what is his favorite circuit to drive. So we'll have to see what he's able to do here. He's just begun to fly around these medium compound tires. He's just come out of turn 2.
Yeah, and the benchmark time here for mediums right now set by Jake in the Ferrari at 1:29.5. So that's sort of the target that you want to beat if you're on the medium compound tires. Obviously, as high up the grid as possible would be lovely, but they're challenging for the strategy, not really for the position as much. As you can see, a lot of the top drivers right now coming out for further outlaps, but we still got over half the grid, or almost exactly half the grid, yet to set times here so far, as we are about halfway through the session.
Coming down through turn 10, this very, very fast right-hander into this downshift, gradual braking. I like to call it a long right-hander. Just a very unique piece of circuit in Sector 3 here around Paul Ricard, coming through turns 12, 13, 14 now. In the Renault, what's the time going to be? The 120 coming into the hairpin here. $129.6 on the medium compound tire. He is a 10th behind that Ferrari of Jake on the same compound.
Yeah, Domi, he was flying, but he has aborted fairly early in his lap on mediums, and he's got damage as well on the left side of his front wing. So not quite sure what happened there to the Williams, but it's happened through Sector 1.
Roman Sever. He crosses 4th fastest here, 128.472 in the Haas, and I believe it was Jones who jumped into 9th a moment ago on the medium compound tires. He's now been pushed back into 10th as a result of Tim and Sever jumping into the equation. Now Freeware is on a flyer as well. He's coming down through into turn 5 here in the Alpha Tauri. Touching through 6 now, up through 7 into the very long straight. DRS wide open on the rear wing now. Unfortunately plagued by that rev glitch at the very least on my end.
Well, I'll hang on board with him. Make sure nothing amiss goes on with this Alpha Tauri. Coming off what I believe is 4th place yesterday in Tier 1. Qualified in the same position. So looking pretty strong here around France. Now coming through the long right-hander, that's turn 11. He's still on a valid lap, and he's going to be one of these drivers as well, challenging on these medium compounded tyres. Like we said, Shenjie, he's switched onto them, and there's a lot of drivers on the yellow-walled compounds right now. Some of them still in the pits, most still let to set lap times on those tyres, but it's Freeware around the final corner then. DRS enabled on the Alpha Tauri, and he's going to cross the line. It's a 128.9, which puts him 5th on the medium compound tyres, so a very strong lap time for Freeware there.
On the mediums, he's in a very good position, and we saw something similar from Domi yesterday in that wet qualifying session. He got out in a very good fashion, getting onto those medium compound tires early, getting a lap in before the track got damp, and he got himself, well, we know how that went for him. He got himself into a serious race position.
Yeah, and I think that sort of strategy and how that's worked out for drivers here over the course of the last week is what is influencing this decision of a fair few drivers testing the waters with the medium compound tyre, as we've only got 5 minutes left here in the session.
So Alex Biddo come out of turn 2 really wide. He's now aborted his lap. He had to get the car under control. Very fortunate for him to do so. I don't believe he took any damage on that front wing. We'll have to see if he's able to go again with enough fuel in the car.
Finn in the other Alpha Tower, he's not improved. He was half a second slower than his previous best, and that's on soft compound tyres, so still in the high 129s, and that was a 130 from the Alpha Tauri driver, so he's got a little bit of pace here to find in qualifying, but it's going to be Alex Biddo now in the final sector. Can he challenge Freeware's time, although he's still not going for his lap, whether he's going to push again once he comes round to the end of this lap, or if he's going to come straight into the pits. He's got 4 minutes left, so not too much time to deliberate.
Mito seems to be having some kind of connection issue here. He was on a flyer, now he's completely parked around the inside of this runoff section, letting cars go by, and he's not been able to get a lap in on this session just yet. Now Jones ahead of him in the racing point. He's going to be looking to start a lap. He's coming through turn 15. That's Money just ahead of him in the Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, also flying is Jake right now He's currently sitting on a 129.5. He's been beaten by a few guys on the medium compound tyre. So, well, he was on the medium compound tyre, I do believe, to set that last time. So, now on the soft tyres, what can the Ferrari do? He's being let past there by the McLaren of Lamp, who's on an outlap into the penultimate turn. And he is going to finish the lap into turn 15, then the final corner. DRS open on that rear wing, and it is going to be an improvement almost by a second, and that's P5 for Jake, knocking Freeware down to 6th place.
Lamp behind him starting a flyer as well, and there's a whole whack of drivers out right now on laps. We're going to look to jump in with, I believe it was the other Ferrari of Alex Bitto. He's now invalidated once again here, and now Money passing him by, coming through turn 12.
Again, he really used a lot of exit out of 12 there. I'm surprised that wasn't an invalidation. It certainly looked like all 4 wheels were off the track and over that white line, but luckily for him, it's still valid, and it does look like it's going to be a fairly significant improvement. It is 1.2 seconds, 128.7, but it's
Jones into P2.
Yeah.
Very rapid in the Racing Point.
But still, half a second off of Remco Van Puten's provisional pole time, and Remco is back out on a flyer, coming through 8 and 9 right now. So, can anyone challenge the Red Bull driver for this pole position right now? Because as he invalidates his current flying lap.
Lamp right now in the McLaren in that reserve role, coming down to turn 15 now, and he's yet to set a lap time here. DRS wide open now on the rear. See what he's able to set here. P14, a 129.8 on the medium compound tires.
Yeah, not too bad from the McLaren driver. The mediums again, maybe not giving him quite the pace he wants here in qualifying, but if you're adamant that you want to start the race on them, then you don't want to risk setting too quick of a time on the softs and getting yourself into the top 10.
Coming through in the Haas. Astrodite crossing the line here. What's the time going to be from him? It's P12 on the softs, a 129 flat.
His teammate ahead of him, he's just gone 4th fastest, a 128.1 coming out of Tiemann Sever. That jumps him up a couple of places.
Things getting very tight at the front of this grid right now. You can see from first down all the way into 10th pretty much. It's 1.2 seconds the gap. It's less than a second from 8th down to 1st. Very rapid grid right now.
Striff, the two Mercedes are back at it with their teamwork. We've seen it before. We're seeing it again here. Fraser giving ZZ9 a fairly sizable tow down both sections of that long back straight. So what is ZZ9's first qualifying time going to be here on the medium tyres? How much is that tow going to benefit him? We saw Crampy get a tow and set a very competitive lap time as a result of it in Tier 2 yesterday.
Well, ZZ9 has one job, and that's to qualify ahead of the Ferrari he's in serious contention with of Alex Bitto.
I think he's more than capable of doing so. Here he comes then, across the line, and it's 7th for him, 128.5 on the medium compound tyres. And that is the fastest tyre, the fastest time on that tyre, I should say. Freeway, the next closest to 128.9. So 4/10, whether that was down to his skill or that tow or a bit of both, I should imagine. Nigel in the Racing Point, he's going to cross the line. It's not a quick time from him though. A 148.6, not quite sure what went wrong for the number 34 Racing Point.
Mito crosses into 14th position. He's in the McLaren. Now all drivers have set a time here. Whether it's their best time is a question of, well, that's we're not going to go there. But Shenjay in the Alfa Romeo is flying right now, coming down through turn 4.
Shenjay, these soft tyres there. Well, he set a lap on the softs, but we saw him bought it earlier. So now on the medium compound tyres, they are fresh onto that car, and this is sort of his one chance to set as good of a time as he can. He has no time to set another lap after this one. You can see there 1 minute 15 seconds remaining in the session. So down into this fast right-hander. It's turn 10 for the Alfa Romeo. Taking as much exit curb as he dares to continue carrying the speed into this long right-hander again. That's turn 11. You can see people retiring left, right, and centre just so that we're aware that they've finished and they're ready to move on to the race. But I don't think that's really going to matter because we've got Shenji out on track flying through the penultimate turn into turn 15. A little bit of a lock-up on that front right there, but it's going to be Shenji opening up his rear wing. He doesn't actually open his rear wing, has he? And he crosses the line at 7th place. He just beats out ZZ9 for the fastest time on the mediums by 0.06 of a second there.
Neatly done from him. Jake right now in that Ferrari up massively, coming through sector 3 right now into turn 15 in the Ferrari. What's the time going to be from the Swede? Crosses that DRS line, rear wing wide open. Crosses the line. P3 in the Ferrari. It's a half a second improvement coming out of him, and it's a 1:28.1 from him to finish out his final run. And Freeware is up half a second as well, cutting through sector 2 now in that Alpha Tauri. He's on the soft compound tires. His current time has been set on the mediums. It's a 1:28.9. He's looking to improve on, and of course he's going to be coming into that AI controlled traffic now.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to slow him down too much, but it might be the difference between a top 10 and him staying in 12th place. Obviously that would net him free tyre choice, but it depends how quick this lap time is as to whether that would have cost him a chunk of positions on the starting grid.
Last driver to set a time here. Freeware wanting to get way further up than where he's at right now, and I think he just may do so as he comes down into turn 15. He's looking pretty rapid here. DRS wide open now for the Alpha Tauri. Ooh, but I don't think he's going to get an opportunity to finish the lap here.
No, he's P12.
Oh my, so he is not going to be impressed with that. So, Remco Van Putten on pole position. Zamis in P2. 1:27.9 from him. He'll be happy with that one. And it's Jake rounding out your top 3 racers here in the Ferrari. Ahead of this race, oh, it is going to be a good one. The gap that we are seeing on this grid right now with drivers on mediums and softs is quite unique. And there's a few drivers here that didn't get very good runs, and Nigel being one of them, Lamp being another. And of course, all of these drivers we've seen throughout this week have been quite capable of pace around here in Le Castellet. So we'll just have to see how this race unfolds.
Yeah, and I think that little pocket is Shenji, ZZ9, and Alex Biddo in what I believe was 7, 8, and 9. They could be very problematic for the drivers starting ahead of them on the soft tyres. We've seen that strategy pay off for Domi in Tier 2 yesterday, and I'm sure they're looking to replicate his success, but we'll just have to wait and see. And safety cars could play a role in here. It's a little bit unpredictable as to where they will come out, but we've seen it, and we wouldn't be, surprised, I guess, to see one.
Yeah, for sure. We didn't see one in Tier 1. We saw a multitude of VSCs. And I think the drivers post-race were just confused. There were a couple incidents where I think we could have seen one. We saw one in Tier 2. As well as I believe we did see one in EU, if I'm not mistaken. It's all become a little bit of a blur now with the amount of racing action we've seen as we jump into this formation lap here. It's Club Division today. And look at the tires on this grid right now. We're just going to go down through who's on the grid real quick. Remco Van Putten on pole position. Once again, he's in the Red Bull. You have Zamis there in second. He's in the Renault here. So the home race for the Renault team. Jake in the Ferrari is in third with Domi in fourth for Williams. It's Tillman Sever in fifth Jones in 6th, with Seb in 7th position there in the other Renault. Shenjie in 8th, ZZ9 in 9th. Bido in 10th position here for this one. You have Money in 11th. That's Freeware in 12th, with Henners right behind him. Fraser in 14th position with Astrodate in the other Haas, as well as Mito, Finn, Lamp, and Nigel rounding out the rest of this grid. 19 drivers going racing here for this one, and it's all being led by this guy right here, the Dutchman, Mr. Remco van Putten.
Yeah, 19 drivers on the grid and only 7 of them on the soft compound tyre, so not something we're all too familiar to see, with those all being in the top 7. But below that, it's a sea of mediums and hards. And this race is going to be one of not only just sheer pace but strategy as well. All of these hard compound tyres, we'll see after they have to factor in. We haven't seen, I don't think, that many people start on the hard compound tyres this season. So I'm interested to see Remco van Putten arriving at the grid much earlier than most other drivers. But we'll just have to wait for the race start to see if he can tear away in a similar fashion under race conditions.
I'm very excited for this one. You have Remco van Putten and Zamis on the front row, Jake and Domi lining up behind them, and that's Tim and Severin Jones, who've been quite rapid as well on that third row in the Haas and Racing Point cars. Just a fantastic grid we're about to see take to some racing. The lights are coming on now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights here around Le Castellan. I have a feeling we're going to see the timing desync. Yes, there it is. But of course the engine's fired up. The sound drops. And the cars are away. That is Remco van Putten away with a fantastic jump off the line here. Zamis in 2nd position. That's Domi looking at him quite closely. Coming down through into turn 1. That's the Ferrari of Jake getting caught off. And that's Zamis. He's been spun round.
Yeah, Tim and Seve got a little bit sideways as well, so he was a little bit out of control and he struggled to avoid that. So there was a little bit of a situation there, but Freeway, he's had an excellent start. He's up, well, it was 6 positions, but now the VSC's out.
Wow, that is a wild chain of events right there. It looked like Zamis got away all right, but something happened and he got clipped where his car was actually spun into a 180 with oncoming traffic, and that is just an environment you don't want to be in altogether. So he's in now 18th position. Now we've seen him make comebacks from positions like this before. We'll have to see what he does. I did see a little bit of damage on that wing. We're under VSC conditions here on lap 1. And that's just a really wild chain of events there through turns 1 and 2. Very unique turns, that section. Especially coming out of that fast, long straight. It's a decent rundown to turn 1.
Yeah, it's a pretty fast, there's a lot of room for overtaking before the corner if you get a good start. And a lot of drivers here have had good starts. And this changes the strategy game sort of instantly, because the top 7 were softs, and now it's just the top 3 that are on the soft compound tyres. We've got Alex Bido, Shenjie, and ZZ9. Those 3 on mediums are now in 4th, 5th, and 6th. So we'll have to see how they impact this race.
In this Renault is absolutely tight to the rear of Freeware in P7 right now. And as Zamis has dropped down this grid, it's the Renault boys looking to get one for the home squad here. And he's on the rear of Freeware coming down into turn 3. Has a good chunk of that inside curbing. Freeware giving him the space. Coming down into turn 5. Is he through enough? Freeware with a little bit of a tap there on the inside between the front and rear wheels. But of course, it's Seb through into 7th position. Neatly done. Freeware, though, sticking with him quite well. And it's the hards versus the softs. And Freeware's showing great pace on these hards right now. And so is Fraser. Fraser on the rear of Money coming down into the 8-9 chicane. And this is just a train now that has formed behind these drivers in the front, and DRS hasn't even come into play yet. Fraser with a great exit coming out of turn 9. As we move down into 10, he's on the inside just ahead of the Alfa Romeo, and that's going to be Mito looking at the Alfa Romeo as well. Now down the outside, Money drops off the brakes, and it's a great exchange we're seeing here. Fraser goes a little deep, and now there's a big spin. That's the Alfa Romeo and the McLaren caught up in an incident, and Mito and the Alfa just... What on earth happened between those two? Yellow flags popping up here. Money is completely off, and there's going to be no VSC or safety car deployed as a result, and that's going to allow quite a few drivers to move on ahead. Remco van Putten, leading this race, has put a significant lap time in here. He has the fastest one so far. And that's going to be, well, Domi, excuse me, has now gone and canceled that. It's a 132.1, the fastest lap. Mito has opted to retire out of the session after his exchange with the Alfa Romeo of Money.
Yeah, it was curious. You had Money spinning in front of him because of the side-by-side nature, but then Mito just not backing out and just sort of pushing the Alfa Romeo out of the way. But now it's going to be Alex Bido on Jones for P3 in this race, and the Ferrari making easy work of the racing point. And Jones is going to want that position back, but he's got to be careful as well because there's another fast medium runner behind him in the form of Shenjie. Overtaken Abel, then a bit of lag coming out of Jones. He's flying towards Shenjie's car, and Shenjie, his reactions on fire. They're just about avoiding the racing point. That could have ended pretty catastrophically for both drivers, but now Alex Bido and Shenjie up into 3rd and 4th respectively.
Yeah, and Jones is going to want to fight back hard here on these softs. He's got enough pace in these softs. They're supposed to be the faster tire right now, but Alex Bido and Shenjie are just showing excellent pace, feeling great on these medium compound tires, these a little bit harder compound tires, and we still have a big train behind Jones as well. That's ZZ9 on mediums, and he's catching quite well. Seb's in the mix, and Freeware's there as well on the hards. Fraser a little bit further back down. Jake in this mixture as well. He's in 11th position in that Ferrari. He's on the softs, and that's going to be hurting him. And we saw Zamis, Tim and Sever, and Astrate. They've all pit early now. Astrate going on to some mediums with Tim and on the hards. So a little bit of different strategy coming out of the Haas camp right now. Well, Zamis decided it's time for hards, and he's going to have to make up quite a significant amount of time here. He's kind of leading that first pit stop train, 24.2 seconds to the drivers ahead. And we have a yellow flag up through Sector 3, and I think that may have been Astrodate with a big issue. May have spun on those mediums. No damage, though.
Off the track, I think he was, spun out of turn 11, I believe, and sort of just trying to rejoin the track. No cars around him. He's 15 seconds down on his teammate.
Shenjie is looking at Alex Bido real hard coming down into turn 11. He had the outside line through. Alex Bido kind of gets in front of him here through the turn. Neatly done from the Spaniard to defend against Shenjie here, but coming through turn 12, Shenjie with a pretty good lockup on these mediums right now. It's going to cost him some time to Alex, but what's he going to be able to do coming through 14 and 15 here? He's going to have DRS. He's going to have some good overtake available for him, and that's going to be Jones, the first of those soft runners to kind of jump into the pit lane here.
Yeah,
good run from Shenjie.
Early pit stop.
Yeah, he's not going to pull the trigger on Alex just yet. It wasn't enough.
Fresh mediums, no wing chains for Jones, so I'm interested to see if he gets an undercut on the other drivers currently running on the softs, but it is very early for a pit stop. But Shenjie and Alex Bido are living proof that these medium tyres are rapid, and here comes Shenjie with a whole heap of pace compared to the Ferrari, and you believe they were racing two different classes of cars. How quickly overtake and DRS will get you past another driver on this track.
Well, Alex Bido, he's very... I don't think he's going to let Shenjie have this very easy. I think he's going to do what he can to keep that Alfa Romeo in his reign here, especially coming out of turn 15. He's going to want that DRS into the first turn. Yeah,
both drivers very similar on ERS, so You can see these guys fairly evenly matched in terms of skill. I'm sure this battle isn't going to end too many times or too soon. But Seb now is coming into the pits. I'm interested to see Jones, who pitted last lap. He's down in 15th place on the fresh mediums.
It's not enough for Alex just yet to get ahead of Shenjay, but we've seen this before. We saw it last lap with Shenjay on him. So we'll have to see if Alex is going to get the same kind of run out of turn 6 into 7 through down that long sector 2 straight. We're about to see it coming down through turns 4, now 5. Shenjay might have a unique opportunity here. He might get close enough to get DRS on Domi. Domi seems to be struggling on these softs right now. Is Shenjay going to have the DRS? No, but Alex is in that Ferrari, but he's just not close enough to Shenjay right now to get a move done into this 8-9 chicane.
No, and this is interesting because Shenjay might be able to put Domi in between them, and if he does it at an opportune moment, it could hold out Alex Billow just enough to sort of give Shenjay a little advantage.
Nigel
it might
now
not mean much.
On the inside of Lamp into turn 8, now through 9. Lamp looking to defend against the Racing Point. Nigel gets him. They're both on the hard compound tires, and Lamp going to be looking to get that back from Nigel.
Yeah, Jake and Hennes as well. They're pretty tight on circuit. Jake on these wearing softs, and that's a full safety car. It's Finn in the Alpha Tauri. I can't tell whether he's come off out of turn 11. I don't think so. That must be out of the fast right-hander of turn 10.
Yeah, I believe he's on the inside of 10 here. Zamis is on board now. Not entirely sure where. It may have been off on the right-hand side somewhere here, but his car has now been removed from the circuit. But as you said, that's going to be a full-course safety car. And Remco Van Putten has caught it already, and he has not pit. So, some of the winners are going to be Jake, Money, I believe Seb didn't even get in. So Jake, Money, Nigel. Zamis has come in. He's getting off the hards.
Yeah, I think Remco and Domi might have just been past the pit entrance when that was called. So, a little bit unfortunate for them because I bet they would have loved to have come in under safety car conditions, but...
Well, this definitely has not worked out for them, that's for sure. Because this entire grid is now going to get an opportunity to catch them up. I would not be surprised if we saw them pit right now.
It would certainly leave them in fairly clear air for the time being, so they could just...
I wouldn't be surprised if we saw it from Shenjay, Alex Bitto, and ZZ9 either. They're on those medium compound tires. The hards would be questionable, I think. But as this safety car comes around the circuit for the first time, we'll just have to see who decides to get in.
Yeah, I don't think we'll see them come in this lap. I know it's a tough call for these guys because they've really not been dealt the best hand here in terms of safety car. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes. It doesn't... Oh, there they are, the two leaders. They are coming into the pits to get off of those softs, but the medium runners staying out.
So Shenjay will be leading this race at the restart in the Alfa Romeo. He is on the 6-lap-old medium compound tires.
Yeah, and he's got Alex below behind him. Someone who we know is pretty hot when it comes to safety car restarts, so Shenjay's going to know that, though. He's well aware of Alex Billow. He's raced with him long enough, so it's going to be an interesting safety car. And ZZ9 as well in this trio of these guys who started in the top 10 on the medium compound tyres. So, well, their strategy right now is working out for them, but is that going to hold up come the end of this race? You've also got Freeware in fourth on hard tyres the same age. Is he going to have to stick with these guys for long enough for their tyres to sort of hit their cliff? And he might inherit a race lead for a bit.
Drivers 1 through 7 yet to pit stop in this race, which can play a significant role. Fastest laps currently held by Domi, a 132.187. He's in 15th position. Of course, he is on fresh hards in this race now.
Yeah, fresh hards. It's going to be interesting to see how they go, because I reckon you could probably tiptoe them to the end. They're not going to be fast when they get there, but I reckon you could do it. But we saw Maxime B last night. A lot of drivers on old hards, they took him to the end, but Maxime B's pace on fresh softs really let him just slide through the field. So strategy very key around here, and this safety car has definitely played a role in shuffling that up, keeping the drivers on their toes.
Looks like it's going to be going around again here as well, as Astrodate is the last driver to try and catch this grid. Maybe if he catches it, it'll come in late. We've seen it happen before, but I do believe it's decided it's going to keep going around. So lap 9, the end of lap 9 is when we're going to see this safety car come in. Almost certainly now. We can say that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, it is quite unfortunate now that Astrodate, as soon as he's caught the grid, they have to go through one more full lap, of course. If you're just tuning in, my name is Strifium. Joining me is Unicorn. You're here for the MRL Club Division on a Friday. This is round 10. It's the French Grand Prix. We are on lap 9 under safety car. And it took quite some time for that safety car to come out, and we had a little bit of an issue on that opening lap. Didn't see the safety car then, but here we are. Of course, hit that follow button if you're enjoying the cast. We do this quite regularly. Tomorrow, we have the MRL Endurance Series back with Russia, a 100% distance race, which we're going to have the pleasure of viewing, you and I, Unicorn. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think Russia, a lot of people, especially for that real life racing, it's an interesting one. That Sector 3, very unique with the just back-to-back right-hand turns, but I think the first sector is something else with that long left-hander. So one of my favorites to drive Russia, so I'll be sure as hell excited to watch a lot of these drivers as well as other drivers from the MRL community hashing out over a much longer distance race than they used to.
Yeah, that's for sure. There it is.
And there we are.
A safety car has been confirmed. It is coming in. So Shenjie, your race leader, is dropping speed, and he is bunching up this grid, and he is going to be looking to go. And it's up to him to determine the pace here of this grid, and he's going as slow as he likes. He's letting that safety car escape the grid.
Yeah, as long as he keeps it at a consistent pace, this is well within his, limits as to what he can do. As that de facto safety car, we've got money receiving a 5-second penalty for ignoring yellow flags. A penalty we see quite frequently under safety car conditions. Now, Domi did what is to be expected, as Shenjie seems to have gone very early here, and he's caught pretty much everyone off guard. And you can see gaps forming already on this grid.
Lamps had a big issue in this grid. Something's happened with the McLaren. He's dropped down through into a massive loss of positions here. I don't know what happened to that McLaren. We'll have to check later after this race, but right now it's Shenjie leading, and he tried to catch this entire grid off guard, and he almost succeeded, except it's a little bit more difficult to do around France.
Yeah, but he's pulled out 6/10 to Alex Biddo, and Alex Biddo's 6/10 out of ZZ9, so he's alleviated a bit of pressure from him.
Domi and Toman Sever having an exchange. Toman Sever going deep, coming back on the circuit. That's Zamis on his inside. Zamis on these medium compound tires, and he takes a 3-second time penalty on the exit coming through 7.
Yeah, into turn 8, you've got Jones mediums compared to Henner's hards. He seems to have a little bit more pace than the Brit ahead of him in that Williams.
Two Renaults are both fighting for position right now. It's Seb on the rear of Jones, and it's Zamis on the rear of Tim and Sever coming through turn 10, and now it's Jones and Seb having a little bit of an exchange here. Seb into 7th position. Henners is in 6th, and Seb's going to want to move through this field on these hard compound tires as best he can. And all of these drivers ahead of Seb right now are on much more worn tires. 9 laps for each of them. It's soon to be 10, and Jones has decided to jump into the pit lane here.
Yeah, after just 5 laps on those medium compound tires, Team 7 receives a 5-second corner cutting penalty.
Money currently less than half a second behind Jake in a fight for P8.
Yeah, we've got Remco Van Putten as well. He and Domi came in on the same lap under the safety car, but they've gone for different tyres. So Remco Van Putten, his job right now is to get away.
Had a big spin. He's on the circuit right now. Jones has just come out of the pit lane. So Tim and Sever is in 16th position, and he's been having major issues in that Haas. He had a good qualifying result, but there's just a massive train coming down into 8-9 right now. Jake looking at the rear of Seb. Seb very tight to the rear of Henners. Henners, of course, on those 10-lap-old hards at this point. These drivers behind him going to have a little bit more pace, with Money coming out of turn 9 with a good exit coming into turn 10. And we have another safety car. That's Tim and Sever. And I have no idea where he could have crashed that car coming down a straight. But it would appear he is out of this race. And we have another full course safety car here on lap 11. So this is going to really shuffle this race, and I don't know what to say about that.
Yeah, that one is a really bizarre incident because, I mean, we were confused when I think it was Vettel in EU spanning. You could see the front runners now really taking advantage. This time it was called in a much more beneficial place for them. And this grid just being completely reshuffled as Remco Van Putten and Domi, they've been promoted to 6th and 7th. Zamis just behind them as well on similar tyres. So the Renault now back into contention of this race.
Well, I've seen Zamis do some very long stints on medium compound tires, as has Remco Van Putten. We've seen some very long stints from him on tires where you would just automatically assume puncture, and they've made them work. So we'll have to see what they're able to do here. Fraser and Henners have not stopped in this race yet. They are both on their starting tires, those 11 lap, soon to be 12 lap old hards. And everybody else on this grid has stopped. So that is going to put them in a very unique position here. It's going to be a big question of where they fall out once they do inevitably stop, and where that will land the drivers behind them as well. Seb looking to inherit a solid race lead if they come in anytime soon.
It fascinates me that we've just got this complete change of strategy here tonight. We've seen that the soft tires just haven't really been, usable here for any extended periods of time, and these mid-race safety cars are just sort of making it that it's a bit of a gamble. Can you take the medium tires as far as you'd like them, or do you risk it and try and take the hards to the end? And we're seeing the split decision for the drivers here, and even those on the same compounder tires, they're all different ages, so the outcome of this race still very much up for contention.
Alex Biddo's just taken a 5-second penalty, and so has Shenjie, and there's an exchange in this middle of the grid.
ZZ9 stop on the track. I don't know what happened there. That might have been ZZ9 is all over the place. I don't know whether that was a mechanical failure and he's, had his controller or wheel, whatever it is he uses, disconnect there, but his car was completely stationary coming out of turn 11, and then it sort of teleported into other cars. So that's going to require a lot of onboards to fully understand what just transpired. And you can see now drivers trying to let each other pass. You can't do that.
Has happened here?
There he is. He's back in the session. I'm inclined to sort of think that that was either an instant disconnect, but then I
It's
don't
not the
see how
first
he'd get
time
back
we've
in.
seen connection issues plague a race under safety car conditions. We saw it on Tuesday with some very unique issues in drivers overtaking safety car and whatnot. But of course, that's why all of these drivers are recommended to be recording so that the stewards can sift through them. And
Oh, it's still continuing. What is going on with this Mercedes? He's just phased through Jones. Yeah, there is definitely something considerably wrong with safety cars at the moment in the current version of the game. My oh my, this race, or this track, never ceasing to amaze us with what it can throw at us next.
yeah, it's been a very, very unique race, Unicorn, and we've seen a lot of races around here this week, and this has got to be by far the most bizarre, as the safety car now has decided it is going to come in, and I think it's a lap too late, but we are going to have a green flag running on lap 14. Jake in P4, Seb in P3, Henners in P2, and that's Fraser leading us here away at a little bit of a quicker rate than we saw Shenjie kick off the safety car. Of course, Shenjie, the leader of all of those drivers who pit under this safety car.
Yeah, and he and Bido have gone for the hard tyres, as did ZZ9, but obviously ZZ9 played with those issues, so he's dropped out of that fight. And I'm interested to see where Freeware, Nigel, and Lamp can come, because they're behind those two on the hards, on the mediums, so the tyres a little bit faster at the time being, but whether they'll be that way at the end of this race, as Fraser still not decided to go around the final corner. There he goes. He has unleashed this grid. And you can see Remco Van Puyen getting a good run on money down towards the first corner. And it's Jake as well at the inside of Seb into turn 1. Remco Van Puyen in P5, but he's going to get P4. Seb very slippery out of P2, and that's caused Remco Van Puyen to slam on the brakes. He's lost all 3 positions. So Domi, he's now up into P3, taking advantage of all of them getting caught up in that issue. And he is now in a very good position, 6 lap old hards. Further down the grid, lots of positions being exchanged. Remco back into P5. We've got Freeware off the track. Down in turns 4 and 5. Shenjie running very wide.
Wow, what a restart we've had here. There was a major incident. Freeware went into the rear of a car. Not entirely sure who it was. It might have been Shenjie, and Zamis had a great view of that in his end, and he got very lucky to not get caught up, but he did get caught up somewhere. Money out of turn 9 on the inside of Seb now. The Alpha versus the Renault coming down the straight, and that's going to be Alex Bido looking at both of them. Seb under threat from the Ferrari, and that means Money's under threat from the Ferrari as well. Alex Bido on these 2-lap-old hards is cutting through this field at a rapid rate in comparison to the drivers that pit with him under the safety car conditions.
Yeah, not only that, these guys, they're all going to get DRS on one another if it stays like this.
Zamis having a look at Alex right now, coming through turn 14 into 15. Zamis on these mediums wants to get a little bit more pace out of these right now. Alex Bido ahead of him. No no DRS in the equation just yet. And we've got a couple of cars getting into an exchange of positions. That's Domi ahead of Fraser into P2 right now. And I believe it was Van Putten ahead of Jake. But of course, it's a Williams 1-2 right now here in Paul Ricard. Henners and Domi leading this race. And Nigel has had a retirement. He's decided to call it in the pit lane. Fortunate to see he's not in an accident. Jones, a 3-second time penalty after multiple warnings. And right now it's Domi getting very tight to his teammate right now, coming out through turn 7. There's a big difference in tires. Henners pulling off to the inside. He's going to let his teammate through. Henners going to snap back in between, of course, the Mercedes. And this has just been a wild race restart here. And we haven't even seen the DRS come into play yet. But all of the difference in tires on this grid, you can see the time differentials on this timing tower right now. Money right now in 7th position. Zamis is quite close to him in 8th. Zamis now the lead Renault on the medium compound tires ahead of Seb.
Yeah, Fraser just tapped the rear of Hennes there. Coming through turn 10, but through 11, Fraser's just managed to keep traction, and they're side by side, pretty much touching throughout the entire corner. Now into turn 12, Hennes has taken too much of the inside curb, and that's going to spin his car around. And he is going to drop a huge multitude of positions. He's going to drop back into about P13 here, P12. Right to the back of this train, and he's going to come straight into the pits.
Yeah, not happy with those tires anymore, I don't think, is the Williams. So the Williams 1-2 leading this race was short-lived. He had to make that pit stop, and now's the time. Of course, it's currently Jake in P4, his teammate Alex Bido in P5. He's on the freshest tires in the top 5 right now. He is hunting down a train here. Domi is getting away with Fraser providing him with good support right now, with a second plus being the gap. Domi able to escape a little bit without DRS reining him in. Meanwhile, Fraser has an entire mob behind him that he has to contend with.
Yeah, the two Ferraris behind Remco, but it's going to be Remco now. Fraser's shown him the outside, but he's going to be passed before the corner, so it's not going to matter much. And it is Remco now into P2. And Jake is right behind the Mercedes, who's on older tyres. And it's his teammate Alex Bido coming up into P4. Whether that was just a genuine overtake or team orders coming into play, like we saw with the Williams just a few laps ago. Let's see Fraser sort of struggling there, going a little bit wide, and that might give Alex Bido the run. Not this time, but Alex Bido definitely... He's got the upper hand in terms of the tyre life, and that's really showing here.
Fraser a little bit more energy in that Mercedes right now, but these tires are really going to hurt him.
Both drivers with DRS. Coming down towards turn 1. It's going to be the Ferrari still behind, but can he carry himself through with the traction of these fresher tires? So close between these two right now. Not going to get the move done. Down into turn 3 though.
Big lockup from Fraser coming down turn 3 there, and now we've had a desync of the timing tower at the very least on my end, Unicorn. But no need for the tower as it's Alex Bido coming out of turn 7. DRS overtake, not a lot of overtake. That battery's quite low, but he's going to get alongside now. Coming down into 8-9.
Yeah, and behind them as well, Zamas has just got past Jake, so he is still gunning for what could be a podium here for the Renault driver, despite the poor start he had to this race. Now Money getting past Jake as well. Jake and his Ferrari not having a good race after this restart, it would seem. He's losing a couple of positions. But it's still Zamas tight to the rear of the Mercedes of Fraser ahead of him. 10 lap mediums currently fitted to Zamas' car. I'll be interested to see. I would expect Fraser, he's probably going to come in at some point for fresh softs like we saw Maxime be it, or it might be mediums on this lap because he's into the pit lane. Beautifully done into the pits.
Now the timing is going to update. Zamas is currently a second behind Alex Bido, but he's still got the DRS, hopefully able to drag himself within DRS coming out of turn 7 through this Sector 1 section. So much action happening here in France. This has been a very, very unique race. Stewards are going to have their hands full. That's all I can say. Of course, appreciate all of the drivers being as patient as they can with some of the issues that the lobby presents itself. And of course, Seb right now in 8th position in this Renault. He's on the 12-lap-old hard compound tires. He's got ZZ9 in that Mercedes quite close to him. DRS is not going to help the Renault in this situation. Great energy conservation coming out of that Mercedes and ZZ9. He's up the inside now.
Yeah, and this battle for 4th, it's still sort of there. It's getting to the end of its life cycle, but Jake still holding on hope for P5 at least for money, but his ERS pretty much gone as is Zamas's.
Yeah, and Domi and Remco Van Putten in this fight right now, and Alex Bido is caught up with them as well. He will be within DRS range, and this is going to be bad news for the Dutchman and the Hungarian leading this race.
Yeah, I think particularly Remco Van Putten here is in danger because right now his tyres are going to be holding on, but they're going to lose pace sooner rather than later with just 10 laps to go here around France. And that's going to allow Bido on these relatively young, hard compound tyres to just sort of breeze past him at some point in the closing stages of this race, I believe.
Gonna be a tight battle to the end here. 8 laps remaining.
Yeah, you can just see Alex Bido just very much has pace through this turn of Sector 1 where there's these tight turns. And now DRS. It does look like the sky is darkening here. I think it's going to be too late, but it is Remco Van Putten into the lead of this race.
Well, it's something to consider. We've had 2 safety cars, which has obviously extended the duration of this race. Maybe the drivers didn't know there was rain in the next slide on their weather report. So, I mean, I would love to see it. You know how I like to see some rain.
Yeah, I think we might see it here. It's getting very dark very quickly in the sky above the track. And I don't think it's off the table at all. And I think
it's coming fast, whatever it is.
Yeah, this could be very, very entertaining end to this race and a race week here at France.
Oh, it's going to be intense right now, but Domi going to be looking to maybe keep up with the Dutchman, but he's got Alex Bido behind him looking real hard at that P2 position. Is Domi going to get the move coming into turn 1 and 2? No, he's not. He's going to hold station there in second position. And it is so dark coming through turns 2 and 3 right now. Seb takes a 3-second time penalty after multiple warnings, and there's an absolute train in the midfield. Astrodite quite close to money coming through 3. He's got the Ferrari of Jake looking at him quite closely with ZZ9 in on the mix, and I think ZZ9 is going to have a look at Jake for P7 coming out of turn 7. And of course, big shout out to Mr. Rackety Raccoon. Greatly appreciate the Twitch Prime. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, everybody who's tuning in. If you're enjoying the stream, let us know in the chat. Hit that follow button. It's ZZ9 on the inside of Jake coming down into the 8-9 chicane. Let's see how it goes. A little bit of a wheel tap there. It's the Ferrari holding around, but is the Mercedes going to get him on the exit? Jake with a good exit right now. It's Seb looking at both of them. There's a big train for this P7 position right now, and ZZ9 wants to get there first, but it's overtake for the Renault. Jake holding well with a snap from the Renault. He looks to the inside coming down into turn 11.
Yeah, and these top 3, they're still very tight together as well. Coming through turn 13 into 14. Still Remco Van Putten in the lead of this race, but it's just a case of when those tyres are going to get to the stage where they're no longer as fast as at least Alex Bido's, if not Domi, as Money comes into the pit lane. He's getting off of these medium tyres. What's he opting for here?
Domi wheel to wheel with Van Putten coming through turns 1 and 2. He drops back, and Alex Bido's going to take advantage here. He looks at him. Domi with a little bit of a weave to the inside line there. Doesn't want to let Alex through and says, hey, give me a second. Let me get back in the lead of this race before you try and overtake me. But Alex isn't sitting around. They're coming through turn 5. We have the beautiful aerial view here, and this is where the moves are going to happen. Alex Bido with great tire wear on those hards right now in comparison to the drivers ahead. You're going to see overtake for both the Williams and the Ferrari here. It's Remco Van Putten who stands to lose in this equation right now. As we come down into the 8-9 chicane, Domi with a move to the outside on the Red Bull through into the chicane. That's Remco Van Putten. Now Domi cleared through out in front. Alex Bido watching this unfold on his onboard.
Yeah, those 2 drivers for 1 and 2 going to be side by side pretty much coming through turn 10. Remco just on the inside, but it's going to be Domi holding the pace around the outside though now. Into turn 11, this is pretty critical. Coming into the last portion of the track, it's going to be Domi holding on to P1 for the time being. Remco in P2, and Alex Bido still biding his time here. Is this where Remco's tyres have bitten the dust? Is it all over for those mediums in terms of race-winning pace? He's still got DRS on the car ahead, but the gap is not really closing, especially not compared to the gap between him and Alex Bido. Not going to be able to make the move down into turn 1. But Remco's got to be very worried as it's a Ferrari. Or Alfa Romeo, sorry, of Chenje. Off in Sector 3.
Well, Domi, there's seriously some connection issues plaguing this lobby at the moment, I have to say. It's very unfortunate. We've been seeing them all week through the Codemasters lobbies. Hope to see a fix soon. Of course, Domi just lagged right in front of that Ferrari, and Alex Bitto very fortunate not to be missing a front wing right now. But Remco Van Putten, we've seen this before. Domi did it last lap. Is he going to be able to do it again? Around the outside, we've seen this exchange before, except we're just seeing it from a different angle. Domi has done it again. 2 laps in a row. He's gone to that outside line through into turn 8. He gets the inside through turn 9 and he holds off that Red Bull, but this time something's different. That's Alex Bitto, wheel to wheel coming into turn 10. He's got the Red Bull on the outside. Remco Van Putten goes quite wide. The Ferrari holding to the inside coming through 11, but it's Van Putten with the switchback, and what a move from the Dutchman, and he's going to really want to hunt down the Hungarian now because he is sick and tired of getting overtaken on the turn through 8-9.
Yeah, just excellent driving from these three. They're not giving up. Because they're not giving up and this battling is continuing, Zammers has joined this party. He is still on for a podium position. His tyres 1 lap older than Remco's, who we've been talking about, but he's still here. He's still just behind them. So if these guys make a mistake, as Alex Bitto out the inside into turn 1.
Oh, Remco Van Putten holding on for dear life there. Alex wanted it, and he was putting serious pressure on him, but this is cost big time. Zamis on the outside. Alex holds to the inside, and Zamis has really given Alex Bitto a wake-up call about how much this fighting has cost these drivers ahead.
Yeah, it's too late for these guys to pit for softs now, as Zamis, big slide for him. If he wants a podium, he can't pit for softs, really. He's just going to have to stick it out on these medium tyres, and this battling has sort of put gaps in these guys, and Domi almost 1 second ahead of Remco Van Putten, and this could be the race decided if these guys can't get back within that DRS range of Domi, as they all still remain in the battle for P2, and that battling is going to cost them compared to the race leader.
Seems the threat of rain has also subsided as the clouds came in real threatening, but that's all it was, threatening, as the rain is not going to be coming as we were told it wouldn't be, but you never know. And there's money in the 8-9 chicane. He's had an issue. There was a yellow flag that popped up through there, but of course it's all about this battle for podium positions right now and a potential win here, as Domi on the 15-lap-old hards has been able to hold off Remco Van Putten, and it could be that he's been able to hold him off long enough that the pace on the mediums is no longer the optimal pace required to win this race, which is going to mean the world to a Ferrari driver like Alex Bitto in third right now with a few laps remaining in this one.
Well, there's another piece to the puzzle that we haven't really spoken about, and that's penalties. Domi right now, 8 seconds, a 5 and a 3. Remco, only 3 seconds, and Alex Bitto has 5 seconds, and Zamas has 3, so
wow, what
it's a very interesting situation. So that means that I think Remco would be P1 right now.
Brewer and Henry have had a crash. A big crash, it would seem. They are both out, and there's a safety car deployed.
Oh. Pretty much sort of bouncing into Henry there. Now this is very interesting because these guys are nowhere near the pit lane. It's very late in this race.
Wow.
But if everyone comes in, it would be interesting. If only one person comes in, it's pretty much over for them.
Well, this has really put Domi into a position where he can get off these worn hards if he's got some sauce. Let's see what's going to happen. He's going to be the lead driver right now. And this grid's quite bunched up. I don't know if everybody's going to come in here, but I think the call should be to come in here, because we're going to see that safety car, and I think we're going to see a 2-lap sprint. The decision is now. It needs to be made now. So Zamis he's come in. Domi says no, which is going to be really interesting. Everybody else has come in. Or Zamis is the only one that has come in here. This is absolutely wild. This is absolutely wild. Zamis is going to be on absolute rocket tires.
Yeah, it's interesting though, because it depends how long the safety car stays out here for. because it might only be 1 lap, at most 2 laps of green flag racing. Is that enough for Zamus to get past
It's a huge gamble.
3 or 4 drivers?
Because he needs to get... Well, he's going to catch it. He's coming. He's going to catch it quite rapidly here. Not going to have that delta to worry about at the moment. But, man, so Seb, he'll catch it. Jones, this is going to be really interesting. This is going to be really interesting here. Triple overtakes? Down the straight into 8-9? I don't know, man. This is going to be a really wild sprint to the end. This has been such a weird race. Who do you guys think's going to be on the podium? Let us know in the chat, guys. Misfits, Club Division, Round 10. It was Season 3, the France race that you never thought you knew would happen. Who is on the podium? You guys were here.
ZZ9 has 10 seconds of penalties. Jake has 6 seconds of penalties. Zamus has 6. Because Astrodite as well, he's got 8 seconds. So, penalty situation, it's kind of, it's not equal, but it's around the same for these drivers. So, it's going to have a little bit of an impact. But Remco on 3, this is really going to benefit him because...
No DRS in this race either. The DRS has been taken out of this race. It's done. No more. So
yeah, Remco needs to stay 2 seconds within Alex Biddo and 5 seconds within Domi. And with 2 laps of green flag racing, I think he could have a race
tight right now.
win
Biddo and Remco are wheel to wheel coming into 15 here, and Domi's just waiting to pull this trigger right now. And he has pulled the trigger. He's had a great exit. Remco Van Putten under immediate threat from Alex Biddo. We're back to green flag racing. At the line now is Alex Biddo and Van Putten coming into turn 2, and Domi's already pulled out a second. He's had a fantastic start to this race. We're going to jump back at Zamus, the driver who thought he could get on these softs. Let's see what he's able to do about it. With all of these drivers on these worn tires ahead, he's going to drive like a madman through this grid. Coming down through turn 3, turn 4 now, turn 5. He's so tight to the rear of this Ferrari, and now there's a little bit of a spin. He just needs to get a clear line through. He does. He gets it. He's into 6th position. That's 1. Now there's a big spin. Jake, who is this? What on earth has happened here?
Jake and Jones are out.
What on earth has happened there?
Both cars on the right-hand side of the track. Jake, his front right completely torn off the Ferrari.
Alex Biddo on Van Putten coming down into 10, though. It's still a fight for the win here between these two, and they are rivals if we've ever seen them. Coming down through. Now into 11, it's wheel-to-wheel still. The Red Bull on the inside. That's the Ferrari of Alex Biddo trying to get a move done. Trying to get that Dutchman for second. Van Putten, oh man, what a race we're seeing unfold between these two. And of course, Domi is ahead of them, and he's being the beneficiary of this exchange right now because it's Astrodite on the 14-lap-old hards now. He's got the freshest tires in this top 3, or top 4, excuse me. Could he do something about this? But we've already seen what happens to the medium compound tires. It's going to be Alex Biddo on the rear of Van Putten now, coming down the pit straight into turn 1. No DRS in this race. We're on the final lap. He looks to the outside. Remco Van Putten holding the optimal line through there. Still having exchanges. Seb's come into the pit lane. Zamus is in 7th still on these soft compound tires. Fraser's gotten ahead of him, and Fraser on the inside now. Who's that? It's his teammate ZZ9 coming down through. He's on the inside coming through turn 5. Just ahead of ZZ9. ZZ9 on those hards. Not a lot he's going to be able to do about this. Meanwhile, Alex Biddo is so close to Van Putten, but no DRS for him. Domi has checked out of this. Of course, as you said, penalty is going to play a role in this. Remco Van Putten with a weave off to try and break the slipstream here from this Ferrari. Coming down into the 8-9 chicane. There's no move from the Ferrari just yet, but a great exit it would have seemed. But Van Putten on these mediums getting good traction. What's it going to be like for Alex? This is a fight for serious podiums. It could be the win. It could be the win with the penalties. Wow, Van Putten holding very well in that Red Bull. And he could be on for a race win. Like we said, the penalties so much. Astrodite now wheel to wheel with ZZ. No, that's Fraser, excuse me. ZZ9 has the Renault of Zamus right up his gearbox right now. It's been an overtake between Alex Biddo. They're coming so close. Down through turn 14. It's wheel to wheel. That's the Red Bull on the inside. That's going to flip over to the inside for the Ferrari. And it looks like Alex Might just get him here. A little bit of a tap into the rear of the Red Bull. He's going to have a compromised exit. He's gone real slidey. Fraser might catch him as well, but it's going to be Domi taking the checkered flag first. Remco Van Putten with the win here in France, and Fraser gets the podium in third with Zamis, P4, Astrodate, P5. Alex Bitto drops into 6th position with ZZ9 in 8th after Money takes the flag. And what a race finish this was. Freeware now coming out of turn 15. He's going to go across the checkered line. What's it going to be for him when Henry finishes this race? This race has been absolutely wild, and Henners jumps Freeware into 9th, and it's going to be Seb, the last driver here, coming through turn 15 in the Renault. What is the situation going to be like for him? What a race. That was a very dynamic race, and all I can say is the stewards are going to be convening for quite some time about what to do with some of the conduct. Of course, all the onboards are going to be requested for this one because that was absolutely wild. And there it is, Remco Van Putten, after the penalties were handed down from the in-game stewards at the very least. He gets the win, representing the Michael Schumacher avatar there. You have the Williams of Domi in second, and it was the Mercedes of Fraser in third for this one.
Yeah, Fraser on those soft tires was absolutely tearing it up. Obviously, Zamis was trying to do that as well, but obviously that incident cost him big time. But Fraser, only 3 seconds of time penalties, it gets him on that podium. And look at the penalties on the right-hand side of that screen.
That was just a fantastic. There was a lot of intensity in that race, making for some fun overtaking, some unique, intense situations. Of course, it was Remco Van Putten with the win, Domi in second, Fraser in third, Zamis in fourth. You have Astrodate there in fifth with the Spaniard of Alex Bitto in sixth position, Money in seventh, ZZ9 in eighth with Henners in ninth, and Freeware rounding out your top 10. We also had Seb, Jake, Jones, Shenjay, Lamp, Nigel, Tim and Sever, Finn, and Mito join us for this one. Multitude of DNFs, and I believe it was 3, if I'm not mistaken, safety cars at the end of this race. Or did we get fourth one there?
I want to say 3 with a VSC right at the start of the race.
Very, very wild race indeed. Well, if you guys enjoyed that one, let us know in the chat. That was a very, very unique race, of course. That's going to be it for us for today. We are going to head on over and raid a member of the community. You may know him as Mr. Zamis. He's having a nice little celebratory stream over there. So we're going to go and do our part. And, of course, if you did enjoy the stream, hit that follow button if you're new, because we do this Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and most Saturdays, just like tomorrow. It's going to be the MRL Endurance Series for round 10 or 11. I'm not sure at this point. But of course, it's going to be the Russian Grand Prix, so we hope to see you then. That's going to be at 5 p.m. CDT, 11 p.m. BST. Of course, it's going to be some nice Saturday night 100% distance entertainment around Sochi, and we'll have to see how that goes. Of course, we are going to be jumping on over with a raid, but before that, Unicorn, any final remarks after that one?
Oh, it's just another crazy, unique race. I think that the soft tires at the end, obviously. Zamis still picking up P4. Fraser as well. I think he was something like 15th to 3rd in that race. Just sort of under the radar, just strategy through the roof, what was going on there. The safety cars, you know, it may have left us about 7 laps down out of action, but the action they gave us after that more than compensated. So, yeah, absolutely great. Looking forward to Russia tomorrow. France, just like Canada was last week, delivered very much so.
Definitely.
Racing, man.
Definitely. Thank you all to the viewers. Thank you so much, guys. It's for you that we do these races, and for the drivers, of course. So if you've enjoyed it, we hope to see you over on the YouTube channel, where you can find, of course, the full replay and the highlights, and there's going to be quite a few from this one. But of course, thanks a lot, guys. Have a great evening, afternoon, or morning, wherever you may be joining us, and we will see you hopefully tomorrow for the Endurance Series. See you guys then.